our speaker for today about an introduction of R Shiny is a colleague of mine from Epsilon, a company from Poland. So she's Polish. She has, I guess, a decade of experience in IT, and she's an IT project manager. She's an R Shiny developer. And like I mentioned earlier to Michelle, that she is a mentor for Dare IT, a foundation in Poland for helping women get into the tech industry. She is Anna Skrzydło, and and here she is. And if you want to access her, she has been doing the she has given talks before in several of the international R conferences. YR, I guess, use R as well. And she recently was at the Epsilon sponsored Shiny conference just last month or 2 weeks ago even. And so Anna, introducing Anna.
Yay, hello. Thanks a lot. So yeah, my surname is Skrzydło, and actually it has a meaning. It's a wing in English, so you can just say Anna the wing, and that will be okay. Okay, so really great to be here. You're a great community, and I'm really impressed how well you are organized. So yeah, it's just wow, and congratulations on the 100th meeting. It's also very impressive. Okay, so let me here share the screen on this one. So today I will have, we'll put it just here. I will have a repo for you, so I don't have a presentation, but we will just dive into the code. I will send, where is the chat here? I will send the link to the repo once more. I haven't copied that. So that if you want, you can, so easiest way to get it is just to download a zip. Of course, if you are fluent using GitHub, you can of course clone the repo. It won't be necessary to follow the session that we have today. I won't give you any exercises because we don't have that much time. But if you want to just have the code handy, try the examples yourself and so on, it's, I think, useful to have it with you. Let me first explain the goal that we have for today. So this is Introduction to Shiny, and actually, so when I was preparing this session, this workshop, I thought that it's impossible to, like teach you Shiny within an hour. So the goal that I set for today's session is to rather show you some concepts, some elements of Shiny that actually were a game changer for me when I was learning Shiny myself. So these are the elements that are very useful, that can be used really from the start on your Shiny journey. And of course, after today's session, probably you won't be able to like fully, let's say, use them like fully, because we will go through CSS, for example. So don't, you don't need to be able to write the whole CSS, yourself, but at least you will know that it's there. It's possible to be used, and you can easily check it up in the internet. So I think this will just speed up your learning process, and you will be able to get into creating more and more interesting and advanced applications just sooner and faster. So let me, here, I will also show you how to use the repo. So we will have 6 applications, and the first one is the most basic Shiny app. We will actually create Iris Dataset Explorer, and all next apps, so app number 2, 3, and so on, they are built on top on the previous app. So we will be just expanding how the app works. We will just be making it more clean when it comes to the code, also by using some elements of Shiny and so on. If you want to run the code, you need to first have those two packages installed. So of course Shiny, and we'll be also using ggplot2. First, just you can easily copy it here. First, make sure that you have them installed, and then you will be able to run all the applications that we have. For the resources, I will leave it for now. We will come back to it at the end of the session. Of course, if you have any questions, just ask them. Is someone asking something right now? I don't know. No. Okay. So if you have any questions, just ask them. I will try to answer right away. And question to you, is the font big enough? Can you say it well, or should I expand it? It's okay. Okay, great. So let's maybe first, okay, the repository here, this is the main folder. Here we have our 6 apps. And now I have opened this file. It's app.r. When I just listed all the files, it will be just easy for me to run them like that. So first I need to run library Shiny, and let me first open or run the first app. And that's it. So this is the first, like the most basic app that you can create. So you have drop-down input to select the variable to be displayed. And here the x-axis that is actually fixed in this example. So we have species, it's the iris data set, and we have 3 species in this data set, and we can change the variable that is displayed here on the y-axis. So now I will show you, I will open this folder with this app. So how easy it is to create such a very basic app that actually already is a functional app. You know, if you need something to very easily explore the data and just have 2 variables displayed together, actually this is something that can already help you, and it's very easy to run. So first okay, the structure of the Shiny app. We have UI and we have server. So you can think about it as a front end. So the UI part, the whole thing that the user sees and interacts with, and server, so the backend part. So all the calculations, data preparation, everything is happening there on that side. And you can put those into one file. Actually, I will advise you to start with having 2 separate files, because especially at the beginning, you will be adding more and more stuff like directly into UI and server. So then it's better to have at least those 2 functions separated. So that's why I just prefer this structure. Later, when you will be able to actually modularize your Shiny app, then just keeping the main UI and server in one file, it's okay, but then that file is really, really short. So for now, you will find a lot of examples when those 2 will be in one file for that, basic examples. But yeah, I would advise you to try to split them, because when you start, adding more elements to your app, that will be just easier to maintain. I think we had a question. I've seen Abdul has hundreds of lines long. Yeah, exactly. So this is the case, Rodrigo, right? So let's take a look at the UI. So here, as you can see, so UI, it just builds the HTML, like underlying and HTML of the Shiny app, right? So the thing that the user sees. And what we have here, so we need to initiate the Fluid page, because this is like, the whole HTML page. And then we have just 2 elements, select input and plot output. So this is the select input and this is the plot output, and that's it. And we just specify, so the first argument is always the ID here. And then this is the label, so the thing that is displayed here, and the choices that we can have. And that's it. And for the server, so I'm reading the library because I'm using it here. So I put this library function here, and then I have a server function. And here I need to prepare only one element, right? I'm like calculating, I'm creating only the plot. So I have this output plot, and this is, I need to use this render plot function. So there are multiples render something functions to actually prepare the outputs for the UI. And here I'm just using regular ggplot code. And here, as the variable to be used in the plot, I use the variable that's inputted by the user, right? So the one from this drop-down input. And generally how UI and server communicate with each other, they communicate using that input and output variables. So in the server, you just use them as input $, name of the, or actually the ID of that input variable, and you create outputs by output $, and the ID of the of that output element. And here, these are those IDs. So this is how those elements are connected. So plot output just displays output $ plot because it has this ID provided here as the first argument. Okay, so that's it for the very first, very basic application. Let's now take a look at app number 2. I will close this and I will run this. So here it's exactly the same functionality. So again, I'm just choosing the variable to be displayed here on the y-axis. And for the x-axis, still I use just the fixed variable species. And like basically it's exactly the same what was happening here when it comes to functionality. But what we've added is some layout. And generally, I would say we like added some more visual effects here, right? So the plot is slightly improved with some colors and some bigger fonts here to make it more visible. We have this division of those two sections. So here it's called sidebar panel, and this is the main panel. And we have also this title here. So let's look at the code. So maybe first start with the UI. So, and why I wanted to split those two applications, so app number 1 and app number 2, because I wanted to show you what's actually needed to get the functionality. And then there is a lot of, maybe not very much, but still a slightly more code, but actually it's for some other reasons, right? So to get the functionality, it's very, very simple. And it's just that, I think that was around 7 lines of code. And then, of course, it's still important to make your app more user-friendly and to have that, visual, for example, splitting between the displaying of the data and settings for the data and so on. So it's still important, but I wanted to show you that this is like another layer, and this is actually the good way of building apps, to start from the the things that needs to be there, so that basic functionality, and then extend your code with all other things. And yeah, like add the layouts and stuff, because that way it's just easier, because you can very easily get stuck with that layout things, and then you have already a lot of code and it's hard for you to debug and so on. And so that's why I would recommend also doing that this way. Okay, so here, coming back to the UI. So we've added title, and title is actually, I don't know if I cannot. Okay, I think you can, okay, it doesn't matter. Here, this is the title. So in the previous app, like we had just a port number here, and here we have the title. Title panel, so this is the title panel. And then we have sidebar layout. So in this example, I've chosen to just have very simple sidebar layout, which means that it splits the whole page. into two sections, main panel and sidebar panel. And by default, the sidebar panel takes 1/3 of the space, and the main panel takes 2/3 of the space. When you decide to use sidebar layout, you need to then provide sidebar panel and main panel, and this is of course what we did here. In the sidebar panel, we have the title settings panel, so this is this part. Then we have this short paragraph with some instruction what you need to do. Then we have horizontal line. I think it cannot be seen very well here, but it's here. It's kind of separation between the headings, instructions, and the actual settings. And then the select input, so exactly the same that we had in the previous app. It's here. And on the right-hand side, we have main panel. So we have text output, and it's wrapped into H3 to make it stand out just more, so to make it actually a heading. But actually, this is a text output. So it's something that is calculated on the backend, so in a server function, and in a server function, I will show you in a second, we have output $title that's created there, and then it's passed here to the UI, and UI displays it. And it's to actually make it also dependent on the variable selection. And then we have the plot output, so exactly the same as we had before. So let's now also open the server. And what changed here? So here we have that new variable, new output, and it's title. And what we are doing here, we're just basically changing. So in the variable names, there are dots used, and we want to have it as a nice human readable label. So we just change the dot to space, and we use we paste it with the name of the variable on the x-axis, and that's it. And in the plot output, we are just extending the code a bit, but it's just a regular ggplot code. So we are just changing the theme, we are changing the size of the fonts and so on. And here also I'm adding the same label for the y-axis. And I'm doing exactly the same operation with the GSAP. And this is what I would like to tackle next. So we have this code repetition, which of course isn't a good practice because it makes it very difficult to maintain the code if you want to make a change in this. And for example, instead of space, put underscore, then you would need to change it in two places. So now I will show you what you can do in Shiny. So let's close it and let's go to app number 3. So maybe I will first open the app number 3. From the user perspective, nothing has changed here. So it's exactly the same. But here on the backend side, what has changed? In a server, I started using reactive expression. So here, of course, you can do it in very different ways. You could also write a function and just write a function. But in this case, I just wanted to introduce you reactive expressions. So I did it this way. So I created a variable, a var label, and I assigned reactive expression to it when I'm just doing that operation. So here, I'm just, I'm changing that string, right? So I'm changing a dot to a space. That creates just a nice label for that y variable. And then I'm just using this here in those two places. So as you can see, if I need to change it to underscore, I just do it here in one place and it will be updated in both places, which is great. Reactive expressions. What are reactive expressions? Reactive expressions and also reactive values, because this is another concept. I don't have an example here, but if you dig into Shiny, you can also check that. Of course, a lot of materials in the internet to read about that. Generally, I like to think about them as variables on the server side. Why? Because Shiny code isn't executed the standard way, let's say. So the standard way of executing the code in R is to go line by line and perform the operations that are coded. But in Shiny has reactivity, right? So actually this code will be executed when it needs to be executed. So when the UI part will ask for this plot so that the UI can display it. So if you have just a variable, like a regular variable without any reactive expression or without being reactive value, if you just have it, let's say here, then it will be created once when the server is initially loaded, but then it will never be updated because it's not inside reactive expression. So in order to have actually some variables that you can update the values, you need to use them here as reactive expressions or reactive values that you can. The reactive value works a bit different. You can just update it somewhere here in another reactive expression or in other reactive code. But I don't want to mess up a bit. Let's first concentrate here on that reactive expressions. And maybe I will try to quickly explain how that reactivity works, so also you understand this bit. So generally, how Shiny works. So Shiny UI wants to have so Shiny tries to display the most actual data. So in order to do that, Shiny would need text output and plot output. So when we change the input here, let's say to sepal length, the server, this variable is used here. So the var label actually don't recalculate right away, but first change its state to invalidated. So the value of var label is still as it was before, but now it has a state of invalidated. So output plot and output title, as they are using that reactive expression, they get that information like, okay, this is not valid anymore. So then Shiny, as Shiny knows that wants to show the user always the most actual information, then says, okay, so then please recalculate output plot and output title for me. So then, and we don't know in which order that that's recalculated actually. The Shiny can pick randomly the order. Let's say Shiny decided to calculate output plot first. So it knows that it's dependent on a var label, so asks var label to be recalculated, then the value is updated and now it's valid. So then output plot can be recalculated and displayed, and then also title already has the information that, okay, this value is correct, it was recalculated, I can use it. So it also gets recalculated and displayed on the UI. So this is more or less how that reactivity works. Don't worry if you don't understand everything. Like, to be honest, I for the very long time, I think I didn't have deep understanding of reactivity, and I still could successfully build applications, because I think reactivity is something that you need to write enough applications to have that deep understanding of how it works. So just write your apps, and that more and more understanding will come to you. I'm sure that with every trouble that you will have, you will learn something more. So just you know, move forward and don't be disappointed, and don't bother with that. Okay, so that was app number 3. What we have next? Next we have app number 4. I won't save it. In the app number 4, actually, also from the user perspective, nothing changes. It's still the same, but we have another improvement on the backend side. So here we have a global file. And this was also something that I learned like in the meantime of creating an app, and I was very surprised and I was very happy with that, because in the global file, you can actually, so global file is run once when the app starts, and if you like, anything you do here will be created in a global environment, so you can easily access it from the server or UI. So it's a perfect place to read all the libraries. So previously I had this library here in the server, but actually when your app will grow, it will be much easier for you to even find all the libraries or check if this is the one that you already have loaded or not. Just if you will keep that practice of putting all the libraries here in the global file. And also what I did here, so this is a great place to create some global variables that actually won't be changed during the run of your app. So here, for example, I have all the variables that can be chosen in the drop-down input. So previously, maybe I will open also app number 3 UI. Here, previously, for the choices, we had kind of, I would say, hard-coded vector of the variables that the user can select. In the app number 4, we are just using this variable choices, which is created here in the global.r file. Why this is better? Because if you need to change it again, especially if this vector will be reused in some other places. So if you would like to, I don't know, maybe under the first plot, you would like to have another plot, and you will again create another input to choose variable to display on that plot, then you would need to reuse actually the same vector. Then it's much better if it's created once in a global file than like hard-coded many times, copy-pasted in the UI. And also, you can even do something much better, and you can do it as your homework. So here, I'm just using Iris dataset. I'm using it also here in the server, in the ggplot. But actually, you can create another variable here, like a dataset, and assign to that dataset Iris dataset, and then just throughout the app, use the dataset variable. And then if anytime in the future you would like to change Iris dataset explorer to empty cars dataset explorer, that would be super easy, right? Because the only thing you would need to do, you would need to just change the dataset here. Also here in the column names, you would use dataset variable, not the Iris directly. So everything should be updated there. So if you have some time after this meeting, I recommend doing that change and then testing if changing to empty cars is also easy. Of course, here we have this is also hard-coded species, so you would need to pick another variable. So it's still not, perfectly written up to do it like extremely easily, but still much easier than having that Iris dataset also hard-coded, and also having names hard-coded and so on. So generally, the less things are hard-coded in your app, the easier it is to maintain it, and also to develop it, of course, but also to transfer it for some other cases and reuse some parts of the apps and so on. Okay, so that was app number 4. I'm just checking what I have next. So app number 5. Let me close it. I will first run this app here. So here, actually, the UI part also changed. It's not a huge change, just some slight changes here in the font of this header. It was a bit different. We have also a bit more space here. The settings panel is just spread across the whole height of the screen. So to create like a better separation between the sidebar and main panels. And also the headers here are aligned, so they are in one line. Previously, that was a bit of a mess here, so this creates a bit better visual effect. So how that was done, let me open up number 5. That was done with a CSS. So CSS, Cascading Style Sheet, this is the way to style your application. So it's used across all web apps. So it's not only for Shiny, you will also find a lot of learning materials on the internet. But of course, you don't need to be CSS expert to start using it in your Shiny apps. Especially at the beginning, you will find it pretty intuitive, I would say, and you will be able to style those elements that you need to just change a bit to match it better to your company style, or just to make it just look a bit better. What you can do here, I would say everything, everything that styles the app. So we can change font sizes, font family, so the type of the font that is used, margins, paddings, borders, colors, background colors, also how it is displayed. So if elements are displayed like side by side or in a different direction. So generally everything, and you can style either the HTML elements or classes or IDs. You can either use the classes that are generated by default by the libraries that you are using actually for the layout. So this is the example. So these are some default classes. Or like here, you can create, this was the class that I created in the UI file. So I will show you. It's here. So I added this class, and then I can use it in the CSS file, and I can just add some styling to such a class. You can also, I will show you. Oops, it's not running. I will run it once more. One interesting thing, how to debug this part. If you just right click on any element and you click inspect, it will open developer tools. And here you can easily check what styles are applied. And you can even check, uncheck to just see what will change. You can add here new style and just check how that will look like. This won't be saved in your file. So then you need to copy paste it to your CSS file. And very helpful for me to set margins and paddings is here at the bottom of this. So I'm just scrolling down at the bottom of this section. So this shows you what paddings, borders, margins you have for each element. And this is extremely helpful when you are trying to align elements and it's not looking the way you want it to look. Just check here, and that will be also, you know, that you can easily debug here what's not going well in your case, and you will have it. As you can see, I'm changing the elements and it shows me the different values here. One more thing to the CSS part, how to make it work. So first you need to have this www folder and put the file with extension CSS here. And then you need to add this code at the beginning of your UI, and this will source the file and it will style the application, and that's it. Okay, let's move to the last application. We have, I think, 8 more minutes, so we'll be just in time. So this is actually in the last app, I wanted to show you how to debug Shiny applications. And that was like a huge game changer for me when I learned that, because previously I was using prints, and then it turned out it's not the value that I wanted to print, so I needed to print another one. So actually, this was really, really, really helpful. So hopefully it will be also helpful for you. So let's run this up and let's see what's not going well here. So actually, we have 4 options because they are highlighted, but we cannot see the values here. As you can see also here, the name of the Y variable isn't displayed, and we don't have the label here. So something is wrong. So let's check what we've broken there. So let's open the folder here. What I was trying to add here is this little helper function. So I wanted, so maybe I will run once more app number 5. So here, as you can see here, we still have that dots instead of space, like here. So I wanted to change this part to also display a proper label, so to have a space instead of a dot. So in order not to repeat the code, I created this function to change dot to a space, and I'm using it. So I'm sourcing it here in global. And just a disclaimer, this is not the best way to source the file. I just used it here because I think everyone knows source function, so I didn't want to add more complexity here. Generally, if you will be doing things like that, so you will have some helper functions and you would like to source them in your app so that you can use them in a server or anyone else in your code, try using Box package. This is really great package, but this is, topic for a different talk. So that's just a small note. It's not the best practice here, but I just did it to just not introduce more complexity. So let's just leave with this one. We have a note. Oh yeah, you already had a session about Box package, which is great. So you already know how it should be done better. So I'm using this, I'm just sourcing this function, and then I'm using it here to create labels for this variable choices so that it's displayed correctly. And then also I'm using it here in this reactive expression. So instead of just having that gsub function directly here, I just use the function to create a label. And then I just use that var label that as previously just. Okay, so let's check what's not working here. So we didn't have the title. So this is the very, like I would say, easy function here. So maybe let's start with this one. So what I wanted to show you is this browser function. And this is the function that will actually stop the Shiny app here. And you will be like, it will take you to the to this environment. So you will be inside here, you will see all the inputs that this render text has, and you will see, like, you will be basically in the environment of this render text function here. So we need to save it to make it work. And now let's try running it. So maybe I can also show you another method. You can use this one, this run app, if you are in a server, global, or UI files. I'm not using the run app here because here it will always run the first one, the first that it finds. But when we are here, actually in the app that we want to run, we can also use this run app, and it's much easier. Okay, so as you've seen, like it started the app. And then during the execution, when it was actually running this render text function, it took us here. And now we can run the code in the console and check just what's not working. So let's try to run it. And we can see that, okay, the result is as expected. So the same as we see it in the app, so that there is nothing here, and then just by species. So we can run also var label itself. And we can see, like, okay, so this is the issue. It just, so var label, so this reactive expression just returns empty string. Okay, so let's just check what's happening in the var label. So we can stop it. And yeah, now we stop the execution of the app also. And I will just take it and put it here. You can use the browser anywhere in your app. I can have also multiple browser functions, but it will be just easier for me. I already know that something's not going well with the var label, so I don't need it later. I will just put it here in the reactive expression, and we'll check it here. Okay, so again, I'm taken here. So I can check. This is here. This is actually returning empty string. I can check if I have anything in the input variable. Okay, so input variable works correctly, right? I have the value there, but just create a label messes with this input variables and returns empty string. So you can also check. If you click continue here, it will just stop the that browser context, and it will get you back to the app. Now the app is running, and we can check what happens if you actually try to change the value here. So let's say I will pick another one, and again that reactive expression was triggered to be recalculated. So again, I'm here in this browser context, and I can check what's happening now with the input variable. And again, the input variable is there. It is different. We changed it, so the input variable actually was changed. Still, I'm just not having the labels for that, because here again, when I try to run the whole function, it returns the empty string. Okay, so I will stop that, and I will take this browser to that create label function. So let me. I'm not sure if that was the one, so I will open global file once more. No, sorry, it's not in global, it's in utils here. So I will put it here. I will save it, and I will run the app once more. And now, yeah, the app started. No, it's not started because it was just reading. It was in the global, so the app hasn't started yet, right? But the file is read here, so that's why we can see it already. Okay, so let's check what is happening here. So, okay, it returns 4 empty strings. We can check the var name. So the var name is provided correctly. So we have 4 names of the variables with the dot as expected. Okay, so something is wrong here in this function. And okay, this is the place, right? We need to change fixed to true because fixed by default is false, and when it's false, GSAP treats this as regular expression, and dot is a special character in regular expressions, so that's why it was just changing the whole string to the spaces, right? So when we fix it, we can try to run it, and now it works correctly. So let's stop, because if you continue now, that changes won't be updated in the app, right? So if you do any changes in a browser mode, you need to first stop it, save the file, and then we can, I won't need that browser anymore. And then we can run the app once more and see if it works. And now everything works correctly. Here we have all the labels correctly written with space. So that's exactly what we wanted. Okay, so coming back here to further resources very, very quickly. So Mastering Shiny, it's a book I highly recommend. The reactivity is very well explained here with the graphs, examples, and so on. So if you want to learn more about Shiny, this is the, I would say, place to go. Advanced R, another book. It's not about Shiny, but generally when you advance in Shiny and you start writing more and more complex and advanced applications, this will be also very helpful for you. And generally, this is a great book. So if you are working with R, I generally recommend it. So you can also take a look if you don't know it yet. Shiny Apps Gallery. So this is the apps gallery created by Epsilon. Here you can just get inspired because all the apps listed there are actually Shiny apps, but they don't look like Shiny apps. So something's not working right now. Oh yeah, it works. Yeah, this is a Shiny app. It doesn't look exactly like a Shiny app, but you can also get there, of course, using CSS, using also JavaScript. So there's a lot more than just Shiny to learn to be able to create such applications. But if you are interested in development in this area, this is also a great place for getting inspired. And another resource, if you are interested in becoming a Shiny developer, I had a talk on YR that I think Rodrigo already mentioned. When I'm, let's say, listing the skills that you need to have to actually be successful in this role, because R and Shiny is just the beginning and it's just the start, but actually to become actually a developer and, for example, work in Epsilon, there is a bunch of other skills, more software engineering skills that you also need to acquire, and they're all listed there. So you are also welcome to take a look at there. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. I hope you liked it. Yeah, do you have any questions?
Before we continue with questions, it's 7:08 p.m. where we are. It's 1:08 in the afternoon for Anna. We booked Anna in Central European time from 12 to 1. Anna, I'm sorry if we took so long to get started. Do you still have enough time for a few questions?
Yeah, sure. So I have like 5 to 10 minutes more to answer your questions. So yeah.
If you have to go, don't worry. I can answer the questions, I suppose.
Okay, sure. Sure.
All right. Joe?
Okay, anyone who has a question for Anna? I have a question, but I think it will be answered on the how to become a Shiny developer talk. So I'll just click on that later. Anyone? Going once? Going twice? No one?
Please ask.
Wag
I
na
have a
mahiya.
question. Yeah, I can go after you, Joe.
No, I don't have any questions because I think it will be answered on that day. On the how to become a Shiny developer.
You're interested, Joe?
Well, not really, but I was just wondering, for example, what do you call this? Should I be looking at a Shiny developer to join my team? So, something like that. But yeah. So because there are, like, for example, we are so a lot of our, for example, a lot of our dashboards are within the VPN, right? And then we actually have distributors who are third party, so they will not be able to access our
Mhm.
VPN. So I was just wondering, maybe it would save a lot of people's time if we also, develop something in, I don't know, in our Shiny or in a web app, so that other people can also have access to I don't know, to the tools that sales usually have. So those are the things that I'm wondering about.
Yeah,
But I think that's yeah.
so this is actually the very common model that we have with our clients. So we work with data science teams that are great at doing analysis, creating models, and so on. And very often they build some MVP version of Shiny app. And then that company invites us to also help them with that software engineering skills, because this is, I would say, a bit different set of skills, like for developers than for analysts. And so that companies find it very useful, because actually when that applications get more and more interest in the organization, they actually need to be fast, they need to be maintainable. So very often when we receive such MVP version, there's a lot of code repetitions, for example, and we are helping those teams just making that code cleaner, writing unit tests, for example. We are creating CI/CD also to be able to introduce the changes very, very quickly. And we are kind of adding that more software engineering skills to the teams. And VPN isn't an issue. We also very often work either on clients' laptops even, because they have very strict security rules, or we just get accounts that are behind the VPN, and we just log in there. So yeah.
Virtual workspaces, virtual machines.
Yeah, exactly.
Michelle, you
Anyone else?
Yeah,
that,
I have a question. I often hear also this feedback from our users, but with a statistician background, that they have a hard time using our Shiny. So I don't know if that's something that you've also found to be, maybe either strange or interesting. But could it be that it's more, it's easier for developers, like maybe JavaScript or Java developers, it's easier for them to learn it than someone who's more like statistician mindset?
It's interesting. I never thought about it this way, but actually, so this is true that Shiny and Shiny code is totally different than the usual R code, right? So it's not just going line by line, but you need to manage actually that reactivity. But generally, what I would say that there is a split on the market. So once you get into R, you either become expert in analytics or expert in Shiny, so rather in that more software development ideas and topics. And this is true that they aren't very much connected, let's say. So I think this might be the case.
I would like to add, Even among us in Epsilon, Anna, we're not all the software developers. We have colleagues that came from the data science side. I'm sure that one of them that I came on board with at the same time came from. He has a PhD in business management or something, and he's not a software developer. He's an R-Shiny developer now.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, it's true. And I also don't have, background and education in software engineering, and I am a Shiny developer. But I think where like if you want to be a Shiny developer, like actually developer, I'm not saying about generally building, some apps for the internal use or that MVPs to show the concept and so on, because this is I would say this is for everyone. But if you want to actually specialize in that and be able to build actually highly performant applications, you have a lot of new skills to learn and so on, then probably you won't have also time to specialize in building very complicated data models and so on. So I'm just saying about that deep specialization, and of course there is some pool at the beginning where you can be both. But so you can be a data analyst and create simple Shiny apps. You can be a Shiny apps developer and also do some basic analysis. But then if you develop and you go further and further, they tend to just split because these are different skills.
All right.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Anna. I know that you have to run, and I'm sure that you would have preferred to hang out some more.
Yeah, it's
kidding.
great here.
If it's okay for people to reach out to you, maybe via LinkedIn or connect with you, if maybe you can drop your LinkedIn address here. But for sure, I'm encouraging everyone to also check out epsilon.com. I just did while she was also presenting. So very interesting gallery as they have shared, and also the things that they're doing that's really very, very cool. So also integrating with Microsoft packages and all that. So it expands our world now outside of what we know that's purely open source, and also maybe looking at the different use cases per industry. So they have those in their website. So thank you so much, Anna. And if you don't
Thank
mind,
you.
we want to get a picture with you.
Yeah,
Videos
sure.
on, everyone, please.
Yes. There you go.
Yeah, there's
Unmute,
Ron.
nag-mute ka ako. All right. Sige. Kanya-kanyang take. All right. 1, 2, 3. Okay, how about we do this? 100. Although that's like just 10. We can only do 20. So just
I only
one,
have
some
two
are
hands,
zeros.
Michelle.
Some 1, some 0. And then I'll just try to see how we can piece that together. It's
I
going to be
don't.
binary though, but let's see.
Binary would be
Okay.
worse.
1, 2, 3. Yay! 100. Thank you, Anna, so much. Thank you, Epsilon,
Thank
for
you.
providing the
Thank
speaker
you.
in your time. Stay safe,
Thanks.
Anna.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you everyone for coming in. Have a great day ahead.
Thanks.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Joe,
Right.
what's our topic next month pala?
Okay.
Non